I was doubtful. Not that it wouldn't sound good, but how good it would sound. And the first time that they came to my studio and plugged a laptop in and put it up, it sounded like we were recording the V9. I'm like, really? There's so many things about an amp that you're looking for. I'm looking for it to be reactive to my hands. I'm looking for the EQ of the clean to be beautiful. I'm looking for, when it starts to distort, for it to sound really big.
If I have 50 people trying my amps, I look for 45 of them to be happy. My background is as an architect. I approach a lot of these things a little differently, whereas I try to gather a lot of information from artists and clients, history, and create something as if I would create a building. Take a concept, be it a heavier amp like an Archon, or a cleaner amp like a Dallas, or a hot-rodded whatever like the V9. Try to create an experience with these things.
So the Dallas amplifier is the brainchild of Doug Sewell. One of the reasons I insisted that Waves do the Dallas as one of the 3 plugs is because it's just this universal amplifier. It's got enough gain to play solos. It takes pedals extraordinarily well. It'll pretty much do everything, you know, medium gain on down just about beautifully. So the Archon came out of the desire to have an amp that the metal market would adore. It's a big, thick sounding amp. It was intended to be 100 watts of nothing but loud stage amp and recording amp. So there was an amp that we developed. It was originally called a Blue Sierra, and then it was called a V9, that we never released. I don't know that we ever will, but that it lives in the digital format as a plug-in is wonderful. One of the reasons I did this project with Waves is, one, is they had this technology, which I thought was remarkable. They were checking every single part in the amplifier.
First thing we did is to open the amp and take it out of the chassis. Really be careful not to fry yourself. And connect many nice little probes between each and every component. So what we did is took the input signal and measured it. And then you move to the first tube and you measure the tube. You have to do that in many different input levels. And we did that to each of the tubes and measure it. The gain knob, which is the most important knob in the guitar amp. We didn't only measure the amount of gain per the knob location. We also measured and implemented the frequency response that changes as soon as you pass around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It reduces the high end a little bit, so we had to capture that as well. And the same thing with the EQ stages. Not only 2 stages, not 6 stages, everything. Taking an EQ knob and measuring it and make it perfect takes around 3 weeks. So after measuring all the parts, we took a machine that runs MATLAB, and we let MATLAB calculate and build a 3-dimensional mathematical model of the amp inside the digital domain. Then we start aligning all the gain stages. We just go back and retune the model until it's, until it's 100% there. No shortcuts, just pure modeling. When we were happy, we let Paul evaluate that.
You know that amp. Does that sound like it on the clean side?
It does, and it feels like it too. The feel is the most important things to plug in. It's just like, guys that tour with the whole modeling units. I don't want to mention any names, but every complaint that I hear from artists is it doesn't feel like an amplifier. And this does, because that room level adjustment is very awesome. It kind of encapsulates you into the room.
Waves has added a whole bunch of ways to have different speaker cabinets, different micings of those speaker cabinets. For me, what works for me is these old Shure SM7s that Waves used to get the sound of the cabinet. Let me show you some of the cabinets we make. This has old Celestion 65s in it. This has got a pair of blackbacks in it, old Celestion blackbacks. These have some old Celestion H's in it. This cabinet back here has got some M's in it. This has got a vintage 30 in it. I use this in my studio all the time. Very typical speakers that people use to record records. You know, I'm lucky enough to have a huge collection of amplifiers, and I like collecting amps, but I don't do it as a collection. I do it because I want to have tools to record and play music with. And I thought that this was a really good project in order to get those amps that I love available to everybody in a plug-in.